Om. Namaskaram to everyone. So the last class we started the third topic, verses 12 to 15. He talks how the vicious do not know, nor do they seek the truth. The 12th verse, he said, whatever natures, that is Sattvika, Rajasika, and Tamasika, these know are from me alone. I am not in them, but they are in me. I am not in them. Why he says he is not in them? For the simple reason that you don't start attributing the natures of Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas to Brahman. Everything in life can be classified based on their gunas or temperaments. The Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas are the various temperaments. Everything can be categorized under that. But when he says, I am not in them, but they are in me, the only reason he says that is we should not mistake and understand Brahman to be by these characteristics, by these qualities, by these natures. So therefore, he says, I am not in them. I have got nothing to do with them. But they are all in me. They reside in me. So I'm just mentioning it passingly because I've already dealt on it in great detail. We have clarified it. As we took the example, the rope says, I am not in the snake, but the snake is in me. We took various such examples to understand. So please revisit that, you will get an understanding. All right, so it's interesting what he is going to say in the next few verses, which, as I said, 12, 15 talks of the vicious. And then the following verses, which is from 16 to 19, he talks of the four virtuous type who actually seek and worship Brahman. So first he's talking of the vicious who do not seek, and then the virtuous who seek. Okay, so let's take up verse 13, please. Tribhir gunamayar bhavaihi yebhe sarvamidam jagat mohitam nabhina janati mamebhyah paramavyayam. Tribhir gunamayar bhavaihi yebhe sarvamidam jagat mohitam nabhijanati mamebhyah paramavyayam. Tribhir gunamayar bhavaihi yebhi sarvam idam jagat. This world does not know me, he says. Why they do not know me? Because they're deluded by these natures, which is composed of the three gunas. Mohitam. Everyone is deluded because of these three natures. And all this world does not know me because I am above them. Above what? Above the gunas, and avyayam, immutable. So it's as if Brahman is saying, God is talking, deluded by these three natures. Yes, sir. So deluded by the natures. So the three natures, which he gave a reference in the previous verse, are the three gunas, the sattva, rajas, and tamas. The sattva, rajas, tamas are the three gunas. Everything, as I've made a statement, everything in life can be classified under the three gunas. Everything is everything. The type of food you eat, the kind of lifestyle you lead, the kind of value systems you entertain, the kind of people you relate to, what are the environments you're drawn, which experiences you go through. Everything in life can be classified into sattva, rajas, and tamas. And he makes a sweeping statement here. This world does not know me because everybody is deluded by these natures. What is mean deluded? Delusion is a state where your understanding is clouded because of a certain conditioning. You don't perceive the truth as it should be because of a certain conditioning. You're influenced by the gunas. So all of us, he's saying, are influenced. In fact, all of us are caught up, entangled because of our identification with the gunas. I repeat the statement. All of us are entangled, caught up in the world because of our identification with the gunas. Now, the problem is we are not only caught up with our gunas, we are caught up with others' gunas also. If somebody has a pleasant guna, you are caught up in their pleasant nature. If somebody has an irritable nature, you are also caught up in their nature. You get irritated because of their irritable nature. You are excited because of their exciting nature. What do you call this? Isn't this called as identifying with others' gunas? Now the verse is not talking of others' gunas. The verse is talking of your own gunas. But now we have gone one step further away from that. We are more interested in others' gunas. If somebody is sulking, why should I sulk? If somebody is excited, why should I be excited? What have I got to do with your guna, man? You got to deal with your gunas. What have I got to do with it? You know, some people have, everybody has a certain guna. It's only the difference of a combination. Whether your sattva is prominent, whether rajas is prominent, tamas is prominent. In some people, tamas is more prominent. In some people, rajas is more prominent. In some, sattva is more prominent. But whatever said and done, the first step of spiritual practice is not to identify yourself with others' gunas. And what is the argument you got to give? I have got nothing to do with your gunas, isn't it? Why are you unnecessarily identifying yourself with others' natures and subjecting yourself, victimizing yourself of what others go through? Let them eat a chili and let their stomach pain. Why are your stomach is paining? I can't understand. They eat spicy food. Let them pay the price. Why are you also subjected to the same pain? This is called unintelligent identification. You're unintelligently identifying with others' natures. You got to first be detached to their natures. Everything in the world is nothing but gunas functioning. You will have nothing to do with it. First step. Is that easy? Is it easy to say, I have got nothing to do with your gunas? That is your personality. You deal with it. Why should I get involved and invite trouble? Is just to keep that distance. Just to keep that mental distance, not a physical distance, mental distance, to say, I've got nothing to do with your personality. It's not easy to keep that distance. Why? Why is it not easy to keep that distance? Ushama.
Namaste, Guruji. It's basically because of our attachment. Thanks, Guruji. And also being weak-minded, you tend to get influenced by the others' nature or goodness.
So one you say is because of attachment. Second is because you're
not strong enough, or you don't have a strong conviction about your own goodness.
How can you say that?
Guruji, if I believe what what I believe in is the right or correct. So if I'm not strong enough about that, naturally I'll get influenced by whatever the other person's gunas or.
I can see where you're coming from. But it's very easy to be influenced by others' gunas, isn't it? So how do you say we should start being detached to others' gunas?
The same statement, Guruji. I have got nothing to do with others' gunas.
You will have to keep telling it mentally, vocally. You know, you have these vegetable vendors coming, you know, or these fellows who are selling things also. Nowadays, they don't have the energy to announce. So they have this small mic speaker fitted to it, and that fellow keeps repeating, you know. So it's some kind of a monotony sets in. So until it becomes a monotony, you will have to continuously keep reminding yourself that my business is with my gunas. I have no business with others' gunas.
Yes.
If somebody chooses to be sulky, it is their problem. If they want to hang an albatross around their neck and sulk the whole day, that is their problem. I would not want to join them and sulk along with them, isn't it?
Yes.
Why so it is it the person who is sulking or to be blamed, or the person who chooses to identify with those sulking to be blamed?
The person who chooses to
identify.
Join
so
them.
Which is, I'll have to blame myself. I don't have to blame the other person's gunas. I have to blame myself for choosing to identify with it.
Yes.
That's the first step of being. And what is the first step of that quality? What is the quality you're trying to practice here?
Detachment.
Which is being a Sakshi. Sakshi is to just take a step back to their personality and say, I have got nothing to do with it. And you will have to ruthlessly say that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you are going to be drawn into it, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Now, what the verse is saying is, the entire humanity is deluded by these gunas, and the entire world, this world does not know me. Thanks, Ushama. So what the verse is saying, it is taking a step further. I'm only presenting where we are and then mentioning what the text is saying. You can't practice what the verse is saying. Now, what is the verse trying to say here? Sanjay, do you gather what is the verse trying to, what's the message? I have not spelt it out, but do you gather what is the verse trying to convey here?
I do understand the verse as it is. I'm not sure in terms of conveying. So I understand what the verse is saying is that the world is not knows me through as the three gunas. So we try and understand God knows me as the three gunas, but they do not understand that I'm beyond those. I understand that much.
Now, I'm sure you followed the line of thought. The first step we need to practice is to be a sakshi to the gunas around us. Everything in life is gunas functioning. We said that. You like it or not, everything has its own unique nature or gunas, right? When you are operating in the world, you should not develop an unintelligent identification with the gunas around you. First step. The first spiritual practice is to maintain a sense of sakshi. If there is fire there, why do I put my finger in fire and then blame my finger as burnt? Who has told you to put finger in the fire? You don't blame the fire for its nature. You have put your finger in the fire and your finger is burnt. You are to blame, not the fire, isn't it? Now, the next step of spiritual sadhana, which the verse is saying, everyone is deluded. Everyone is composed of these three gunas, and everyone is deluded by these gunas, as a result of which none knows me. So what perhaps the text is conveying here is that you must learn to be detached to your own gunas so that you will be able to cognize the self which is beyond the gunas. But you can't practice that detachment to your own gunas if you can't even practice with reference to others' gunas. So it just tells you where I am. It should convey clearly to you where you stand and what you need to start practicing. First step, I have to say, I have got nothing to do with Sanjay's gunas. Then I have to say, I have got nothing to do with Vinay's gunas. Who is saying? Vinay is saying, I have got nothing to do with Vinay's gunas. Now, why would I say that? Because my objective is to realize the truth which is beyond the gunas. So the entire world is deluded. You get the point, Sanjay ji?
So it's you're sakshi. You're the witness not only to others. You're the witness to yourself. You understand that I also am not Sanjay, the real self. So you're the sakshi there as well. But that cognition can only be practiced first outwardly because that's more achievable. But then it's taking that same cognition to the self.
It's easier to start practicing there and then come inwardly closer to yourself. So it's at least if I did not mention with reference to others, we wouldn't know how to practice it. We wouldn't know where we stand, because what you need to practice and what state you reach are both one and the same. They're not two different things, please. You try to practice detachment and then you reach a state of detachment, which is obviously because of the higher values. So it is simple common sense. Thanks, Sanjay. It is absolute common sense that we need to learn to conduct ourselves in life. Venkatramji, this is the only way you will ensure and maintain your sanity at all times. If you want to keep your peace of mind in your control, peace of mind is your commodity. It is your property. You are the proprietor. Why are you selling it to others and letting them decide who resides in it? So the fundamental mistake we all make is we get carried away by others' natures. So it is very, very, very essential. In fact, the first step, the most essential step, if you are able to practice in your day-to-day conduct, I've got nothing to do with their natures. But yet you should not become a victim of their natures. To that extent, you interact with them. At the same time, I'm not saying you to abandon them. You got to deal with them. You have no choice but to interact with them. But while you interact, you say, I have got nothing to do with it. You allow yourself to you create a buffer where it doesn't hurt you. It doesn't upset you. It doesn't dislodge your sanity. Very easily said, but it's very important we are aware of it. Yes, Venkatramji. Yes, please.
No, I'm Namaskar Guruji. I'm getting this point of we being, detached and being a witness. That much I can understand. And we should not become sulking, suppose if the other person is sulking. But is it not our responsibility also to help them and to come out of that?
Since when did I become a guru of others? Transformation?
No, not transformation, I'm saying. I mean, we see it in our own, friends or in companies where we work. Suppose if a colleague is sulking, we go back and tell him, or we say, okay, you sulk. I mean, I don't have it. I am not understanding that practical bit of it. I understand that I should not sulk if he is sulking, which is perfectly okay. And I can be witness. But then even our own relatives and family members and all of that, suppose if my son is eating a chili, you eat chili and you do whatever you want. We don't stop at that time. We say, don't eat chili because chili is not right, or, all of that. So you are saying that also should not be done?
No, I like chili. What is your problem?
then there are a lot of things which otherwise people would like. Yeah, that is a conflict. I'm struggling with that bit of a conflict.
Therefore, I am being very candid here. What is your problem? I like to eat chili. I want to develop acidic problem. What is your problem? I will want to indulge in certain thing. What is your problem? See that the world at times is very polite and courteous, but at times the world say, mind your own business, my dear. Who are you to come and decide what is right and wrong for me? So the best way to influence others is to uphold the principle of knowledge. What is the principle of knowledge? This is where I don't say don't advise. You can't say don't advise. What is the fundamental principle of knowledge?
Share and learn and share, or something like that.
Is wait until it is sought.
Okay.
Hold on. Don't be anxious in imparting or disseminating or imparting before it is sought, and that's why it will boomerang. Because then you're trying to bring about a change forcibly without it being wanted or accepted. That is unnatural. Okay. Not that you're not concerned, not that you are not willing to help, but it's just that it will not work. It's only going to unsettle you, unsettle me. If I am trying to come into your life and try to change you, it's going to unsettle me if you're not ready for it.
Yeah, I fully agree with you, but yes, the practical challenges are something which, we struggle with, or I struggle with, I should say.
No, I'm very allergic to the word but. After explaining everything, you say but means then something is, Now, can you, it's not your personal concern or challenge. It is everybody's challenge. Somewhere or other, people tend to get carried away by others' natures and then fail to keep their own sanity. It doesn't prevail long because you're just unnecessarily getting carried away by others' natures. It happens in every home.
Every home, office, everywhere.
I'm sorry, sir?
Home, office.
It happens because it brings in the dynamics of different personalities, which is a matter of fact. So what is the practical, when you say challenge, what is it that you are, where is the difficulty?
No, in the sense, giving advice when not asked, or, proactively, exactly what you are saying, let them seek and not give it. but end up giving it.
Okay.
That is the challenge. That chili business, I mean, that simple example.
Sir,
my son would reply similar to what you have done it. It is my chili, my problem. What is your issue?
Okay.
So I can go with that.
No, I know you are into seed business. When did you get into chili business, sir?
No, chili is also part of seeds only.
Okay.
So I'm generally saying these are the conversations. What exactly you said happen.
Yeah.
In family they happen. In corporates they don't happen because of matter of courtesy, because people don't reply back. But internally they must be thinking, what is your problem if I am like that? They just don't reply because there are certain,
courtesy. Yes.
This is exactly the challenge what I'm, experiencing.
So how to get over that is to be conscious of controlling the little anxiety you would develop in trying to advocate others.
Okay.
If you're able to withdraw, just hold back, perhaps to that extent, it would help you, isn't it?
Thank you.
Isn't it? Right. Great. Okay. Yes, Reddy Garu.
Pranam Guruji.
Yes, sir.
I do echo my views in line with Venkataramanji, what has been raised here. I have got nothing to do with other gunas. It's sometimes an arrogant statement, I feel so. Particularly because we being...
Which statement, sorry?
I have got nothing to do with other gunas. When we are making that, maybe context-based, maybe at personal level, or where you are totally don't want to get involved about somebody's issues and concerns, most probably you can get detached, not to be integral part of their challenges, let them deal their issues among themselves. But particularly in the corporate sector, when we're talking about, first and most, we need to identify where the people who are along with you, which are the strong strength and weak points, either in the form of a sattva, rajas, tamas, we need to identify. So various tools and techniques have been employed to identify whose strengths are where and whose weaknesses are where. In fact, we used to take a one-on-one sessions with most of the senior colleagues to understand their personal challenges and official plans and everything. So as good as you're getting totally involved in their lives. Maybe we may not get it to beyond a point, but definitely a one-on-one sessions makes you to understand better about a person and a personality. So there, I don't think that this statement makes any valid, because if I don't understand the colleagues who are an integral part of the organization, I'm sure I'm not able to do the justice to them. So maybe, as you rightly said, that be involved, but again, get detached. Once the assignment is over, when the context is concluded, when a solution has been evolved, it could be something like that. But totally distancing away, saying that I'm nothing to do with your problem is you go through whatever it may be. Seems to be people giving a message that you are absolutely selfish man. You only count about the performance and not about our pains.
Sir, I'm not that selfish, sir.
No, I'm not saying about you, sir, but I'm talking about dealing this context. Like a street vendor can chant 1,000 times, but I'm sure this chanting so many times will definitely give a wrong tuning to the mind. We need to apply that on a situation based. That's where I feel so.
No, see what that statement could be misunderstood as tamas, but we are not implying that. We are not implying an air of indifference. It's not indifference. It's an attitude of not wanting to be swayed by others' natures. To that extent, you will engage, you will conduct yourself. At the same time, there is that little, it's like, sir, I'm holding a live wire. There is current supply to it, I'm holding, but I still don't get electrocuted. Why? Because there is an insulation which protects me from getting electrocuted. I'm not saying to hold on to dead wires. There's nothing there. You won't get any life out of it. Electrician holds on to a high voltage wire, but still he doesn't get electrocuted. Why? Because he knows very well that he's insulated because of that protection layer. So I'm only talking of that buffer you give to yourself. You're dealing with life situations with different difficult situations with different people and challenges, but yet there has to be that buffer that it doesn't come and paralyze you. I'm only talking of that element when at somebody's challenge, you don't want to make their problem your problem. Isn't it? I know people who start counseling people, they themselves need counseling because they have made others' problem their problem. See, because you don't have the capacity to be detached. Therefore, we are saying you do what needs to be done, but yet you must protect yourself from losing your mental sanity, equanimity. That's very, very important. And what helps you to do that is this attitude to say, ultimately, I've done my part. You got to say thereafter, if that's what happens, I got to accept it. There's no amount of anxiety that's going to help you with it. So the text is going way ahead of that. The text is saying, you want to reach the self, you will have to disassociate with your own gunas, because the truth of Brahman is known as guna atita. You can only reach the self by transcending the gunas, transcending the sattva, rajas, and tamas. You get to the state of self when you go beyond the gunas. Now, how do you get to that state? Even though the text says that you need to be detached, the world does not know me because they're completely entangled. But how do you get to that state? Is by trying. It's not something which you can do it over the weekend or the next 1 month or next 6 months. It's a lifetime program. It's a long-term commitment you got to give yourself to achieve that state of realization. So when does cognition of the self become clearer? When does the question is, when does the cognition of the self become clearer? So let's say if I have 3 windows. One is a transparent window. Another is a semi-transparent. And the third one is completely, what do you call them? Opaque. So you can't see through. Maybe some kind of light comes in, but you can't see through. Now, the opaque glass is like tamoguna. Partial see-through is like rajoguna. And a transparent glass is like sattva guna. So to the extent you have tamas and rajas, the vision of the self gets blurred. You can't see through. As light as you can't gain any perception. You can't see what's the other side of the glass. But if it's a transparent glass, you can see through. So sattva guna, in sattva, you see, okay, what do you see in a sattvic person? So I've taken examples of the 3 glasses, comparing it to the 3 gunas. I said in a transparent glass, you can actually see through. There's nothing blocks your vision. It's transparent. So what do you see in a sattvic person is the question. Ramji?
Namaste, Guruji. Sattvic person, I think you will not see any emotion, and you will see detachment, a detached person who is very calm and composed, and then is not getting affected by any emotions around him, but focused on the higher purpose type of a thing. So that is what you will find, that equanimity you will find and you will find the kind of a peace and serenity around him or him or her, whatever. You will find that. That's what I feel.
And all these qualities which you rightly describe are qualities of what?
These are all qualities of qualities of maybe intellect. I don't know. I'm a bit lost there, but
let me get you back to that statement. The question was, what was the question you were answering, Ramji?
what do you see in a sattvic person when he is a transparent person?
Correct.
You look at a transparent person. What do you see?
Correct.
Sattvic.
So the qualities which you described are all sattvic qualities.
Correct. Yeah.
And sattvic qualities are qualities of what? Qualities of the very self.
Right.
So to the extent you are sattvic means to the extent you have identified with the self.
Yeah. Correct.
Isn't it? So if a sattvic person, one of the qualities we have described, which we are discussing here, is sakshi. He's composed, he's balanced, he's detached. What is it in you that is 100% detached to the happenings in the world? Isn't it the Atman? Isn't it the self? The self, we say, is the same in a sinner and a saint. So the Atman has got nothing to do whether you're a saint or a sinner, whether you're divine or a demoniac. The Atman has got nothing to do with it. It's the Atman says it is your gunas and vasanas, you are what you are. The Atman innately is pure. See, Atman is pure. The Atman is same in a sinner and a saint. So becoming sattvic is akin to becoming the self.
Yeah.
So what do you see in a sattvic person is you see qualities of the self reflecting in a sattvic person. Therefore, the self becomes transparent. The guna is like a transparent glass. Sattvic guna is like a transparent glass you see through. So when you have sattvic qualities, you can actually see what? You can actually see the Atman, the self in that person. You can see divinity in a sattvic person. You don't see divinity in a rajasic and a tamasic person. That is the point I'm trying to drive home here. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. But Guruji, one question is that we rarely come across people who are perfect in any of these three categories, right? You will always have a mixture of the three gunas in different proportions, perhaps.
Yes.
Because everybody is in a journey. Everybody is traveling through the journey and then will reach eventually.
Yes.
I think the confusion comes when you look at a person. So in that sense, I feel that many will be semi-transparent because you will find some shades of sattva, some shades of rajas, and some shades of tamas. Also maybe at different points of time, right? So if, for example, if the soldier is in the war, he will have different gunas compared to a soldier who is at peacetime, right? So, or he is on a holiday, he's taking rest, whatever. So the confusion comes when you look at a person, you won't be able to make out always that what is that level of sattva guna that has come in. Or I hope you're getting what I'm trying to say. That you won't be able to understand that very clearly. Many times you get you don't get such clear picture. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, the difficulty in assessing here is because of the existence of sattva, rajas, and tamas. And
Right.
as you rightly said, it's a combination. But in the combination, you are defined by the predominance.
Correct.
let's say if you're 50% sattvic and 30% rajasic and 20% tamasic, you will be called a sattvic person. Your predominance will define who you are, but yet a sattvic person will be rajasic to the extent he's 30% rajasic. He will be tamasic to the extent he's 20% tamasic, but still he's a sattvic person. You can't tell he's a tamasic person. The predominance defines who you are.
Correct.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So when you understand this, you give in provision that there is the tamo guna in him or rajo guna in him that has taken over, but predominantly that is what he is.
So the delusion is what is referred in this. The delusion which keeps you away from identifying the Brahman, which is above all these things, is directly proportional to the percentage of sattva guna in that combination, or indirectly proportional. Sorry, not directly. So as the sattva guna goes up, the delusion keeps coming down.
Correct.
Is that what we should understand?
Yes, yes. As sattva comes up, the other gunas drop. So the ability to perceive the truth becomes more vivid, more clearer. You spiritually evolve.
Yeah.
So a person who is 95% sattva means he's very highly spiritually evolved. And the only thing is when there's nothing called as 100% sattva.
Right.
So you will come to a 99 point and thereafter the language changes. So after 99.99, they say you reach a state of trans sattva. You have transcended the sattva or transcended the gunas, because a human being must have the three gunas. So it is not possible to be a human to have 100% gunas. So when you reach that 99.9 and transcend it, then you reach a state of self-realization or God realization. You get what I'm saying, sir?
Yeah.
Therefore, yeah. Yes, go ahead, sir, please.
No, I was just going to ask, I'm just trying to visualize such a person. So if I visualize such a person, I was just thinking, who will he look like, right? What will he look like? So will he look, yes, sir.
The person may be right in front of you, but yet you may not have the eyes to see him.
That is very much possible, sir.
I'm not saying literally now, I'm saying theoretically, they may be a man of realization amidst you, but you don't. Since you have not attained realization, you cannot gauge a person who is beyond your level. Doesn't this apply in every field, sir?
Yeah, you will never understand the depth of another person unless you are also at that same depth or you're at a higher depth. Yeah,
correct. You can only know people in par, on par, or people below you, but never above you, isn't it? Who's somebody above your level, you can't assess. More so in a spiritual field, you can't gauge their spiritual evolution. So therefore, they say it's only a Milton who can understand a Milton. Only a philosopher will understand a philosopher. Only a person who is automobile engineering will understand automobile engineering. You and I may not understand it. I may not have the capacity. I may not have the vision to perceive. So it is to the extent you have sattva, to that extent you will perceive. Beyond that, it's bouncer, it goes above you.
But you may still have a role model. You may still have a benchmark against which you are trying to set yourself, and then like somebody in science may have some scientist as a benchmark. Similarly, if I'm pursuing this spiritual journey, whom should I keep as a benchmark? For example, should I keep a person who has completely gone out of worldly things into tapas, for example, like, or do I visualize somebody who is actively working in the world, but at the same time he has attained sattva gunas and he has attained sattvic, nature. I mean, you told many times that you should be in the bazaar and still be detached. That is the that is the correct way to do. Instead, you can't kick everything off and then go to Himalayas, because that is not the way to become a sattvic person or to do the spiritual journey. So this confusion is always there, that to what extent one should give up worldly activities and withdraw into a tapas to achieve that sattvic state.
It is subjective. See, to the extent you offer me a job, even before you complete your offer, I have rejected it.
Right.
Because I am not interested. I was never interested from day one. In fact, I used to give references of students whom I knew who could offer jobs to people, and I was jobless. I've given many people like that opportunities and said, can you, this person needs a job, can you put on? And people I knew were industrialists, were well placed, who had companies, who had an opportunity, who they required people, or you were just trying to help out. But I'm personally, I don't need a job, not because I may be qualified or not qualified, may not be qualified also, but for beyond that, mentally I am not interested. So who is to evaluate your level of mental detachment, sir? Am I to sit and decide what you should and what you shouldn't? See, even though you may be in the marketplace today, there are certain things you are disinterested. You have no value for certain things. Hasn't that changed over the course of your progression in life? So
Yes.
Therefore, to what extent you think a certain action is, no, I think I've had enough of it, I don't want to, so that I can withdraw into my inner self. You can't be doing that and this,
Okay.
But ultimately, you need to live a life of action. That you have to be. You can't become senile, or you can't become inactive in the name of spirituality. That is not allowed.
Yeah.
So be as active as you can in whatever you have to, but slowly withdraw into your inner self. To that extent, you will be disinterested in certain activities. That is inversely proportional. To the more you're interested in the outside activities of the world, less you go inward. The more you go inward, to that extent, less you're not available for the world. Isn't that a clear reflection of where your accent is?
Yes, Guru.
And that you should be able to do. Don't idealize anybody, because that person's personality may not be an ideal thing for you. It's as much as don't try to emulate someone. Try to emulate the idea. Don't try to idolize someone. The idea is important. The concept is important. It's very subjective, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Right. Tinkima.
Hari Om Guruji.
Yes, Mahari.
So I have this doubt. So you said, like you said, now what do you see in a sattvic person? The sattvic person is transparent and has the sattvic qualities. But if my gunas are predominantly rajas or tamas, then can I really see the sattvic in the other person?
No.
Not
You
possible.
can only see sattva in a person to the extent you are sattvic. Example, let's say if you are 60% sattvic and I'm only 20% sattvic, I can only relate to you 20%. That balance 40% of your sattva is gray.
You don't know.
I would find it difficult to relate to that life you're leading. Like some of you may find very difficult to a certain decisions I would have made in my life or the life I'm leading. You may not be able to do exactly what I'm doing. Not that I'm superior to you or you're inferior, vice versa. I can't live up to your level of detachment because I may be very attached. You are very detached. So I can't identify to, you say, how can you be detached? You will find difficulty. That becomes a gray area for you. So you can only relate to the extent you are sattvic. Beyond that, it takes time.
Also, I had a doubt. I think Ramji was just now asking this question that do we give up worldly activities to develop sattva? So sattva is there in everything. You know, it's in our actions, in our thoughts, and in everything. So do we not continue doing actions, but try and move up from tamas to rajas to sattva? Because if I withdraw from everything, I mean, I need a field of experience to develop the sattva. Is that not it? How does
the sattva is developed by engaging yourself in the sattvic study? You need to embark on the study, reflection, contemplation, and meditation. So as you go inward and dwell through the study of the scriptures, which is what we're doing, but you need to do it at your own self, by your own self. And to that extent, that sattva will reflect in every choice and every action that you do. So if you have 20% sattva, that will reflect in the choices you make, how you conduct yourself, how you lead yourself in the various activities or various responsibilities you are performing. The 20% will reflect. But if you want to increase 20% to 30 or 40%, you will have to invest more time in the sattvic hour, the early morning. You got to do that and spend more time in the study and reflection of this knowledge and spend more time in the sattvic environment.
However much we may do that, however much, but still the vasanas are strong, desire, mind is strong. So though I'm trying to develop the intellect, we are, you've always said that we are helpless at the hands of our vasanas. So how do the vasanas interrupt the development of the sattva guna?
My dear, even though I know that the vasanas are strong, but the wisdom is one step higher than the ignorance. Vasanas are expression of your ignorance of the self, isn't it?
Yes.
When you're gaining the knowledge of the self, not in terms of information, but wisdom. So what it does, wisdom.
Apply it in your life.
No. Wisdom dispels darkness just like light dispels darkness. Wisdom dispels the ignorance. So the wisdom will dispel your vasanas, will destroy your vasanas. Just like the switch on the light, there's no more darkness. So don't be worried of your desires and vasanas. You don't have to do anything unnatural to frustrate yourself. If you have a vasana for golgappa, go and eat golgappa. If you have vasana for motichur laddu, go and eat motichur laddu. Why are you frustrating yourself? But then a time will come and say, how much motichur laddu to eat? And you will say, okay, let's wait for an occasion to come. Or let's do once in a while, You may pass by that store every time, but not necessarily you will drop by the store every time. Then you will say, I can do without it. You still have a liking to it, but you can say, I can do without it. And slowly the charm for it loses. But whenever an opportunity comes, you will still enjoy it. There's a difference between every time you pass by a store, you want to rush in and buy and enjoy it. Vis-a-vis, every time you experience, you enjoy it. That object doesn't become a temptation for you. You've slowly got over the desire. Desire is well under your control. And slowly but surely, even the last bit of rasa, they say, the lingering presence of a desire also goes off. Don't worry.
So we become neutral, sort of. It makes no difference. Is that what it means?
If that's what you understand it, yes, you can say so. You're fine without it. It doesn't. You've not lost anything because you've gone way beyond it. So it's not trying to find a shortcut to realization, but you will have to get yourself established in wisdom so that all these vasanas and desires, which is your rajas and tamas, they slowly get well under control. But there's nothing unnatural about it. So it all takes time. You've got to be a little patient. So don't worry, why is this attachment not going? All will go in time. If you are consistent and sincere in your sadhana, it will go. It's a matter of time. So see, the text is only giving us a state. What we are discussing is the path. That's the time. That's the reason we're taking the fact that the discussion is there is because of the path. Right. I think Sitaramji. Yes, sir, please.
Guruji, I tend to get lost in all these words of gunas and self and other things. On the basis of what you just mentioned in reply to what Tilki and Ram said, I was just thinking that, as you said, we can recognize Sattvic in another person only to the extent of what percentage of Sattvic one has. Okay.
Yes.
Now, that means to look for a role model who is higher in Sattvic is impossible because you can't do it. Because you do not know who is higher than you because you're limited by your own Sattva. So to that extent, does it mean that, it's futile to look for a role model? And why should you look for a role model? The real role model is only the Sattvic study that the scriptures have. Because you can increase your, like you just mentioned, you can increase your Sattvic content only through contemplation of the scriptures by pursuing it yourself.
No. See, I would slightly disagree to what you said, for the reason being, let's say, when I got fascinated by this knowledge, I was attracted to my guru, who guided me, who was my guru, who is my guru. Never ever I was in a position to evaluate where he is spiritually. It would be my arrogance to say, oh, I know where my guru is. So there was a personality who inspired me, who drew me into the journey. And yet I can never ever claim to know whether is my guru self-realized or not. Again, I'm saying it would be my arrogance. So therefore, there's obviously someone who can inspire you and lead you into a particular path or a walk of life, into a spiritual journey. But you will only understand them to the extent you have that intellect, to the extent you have sattva. Let's say if my guru is 80%, I can only understand to the extent I have in me, but he can always inspire me. Obviously, a person at a higher level will always inspire a person at a lower level. You will be inspired. But whether you're able to understand and decode everything and make and see, have the foresight to relate to what they envision, no. Because I have a chicken intellect. How can I envision a giant intellect? I cannot. So we should not get into that. But what I had commented, Ramji, is we should not get into the aspect of whom do I follow. If somebody inspires you, don't do what he did, do what they say. You don't have to follow their lifestyle. You have to follow their guidelines, what they guide us to do. Because different masters inspire you. But do you do what they did? No, you don't do what they did. You do what they tell us to do, which the Shastras are telling us. So ultimately, it's the knowledge which a guru gives you, not their personality and not their, it's not an idol worship. It's not a personality worship. It shouldn't be a cult. It should not be an infatuation to a person and the life he or she leads. It is to imbibe the teachings and the principles, use your intellect and get into the right course of action. But there's obviously people out there in that field who can inspire you. So I think that there's nothing wrong in being inspired by someone out there, not at all. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Right. I think if I can get Sanjay ji was wanting, and then I'll come to Gopala Krishnan ji. Sanjay ji, please.
before I commit this to my way of thinking, I just want to confirm that I've understood this right. So one of the new things I've picked up on is the statement I believe you made is we can only really transcend the gunas once we've almost maxed out our sattva guna, because we necessarily have all three.
Yes.
So the lesson there is then, rather than thinking that the first goal is to transcend the gunas, in fact, the first goal is to maximize our sattvic nature, which is for me a very practical lesson, because it creates a bridge to that ultimate goal of transcending the gunas entirely. The first goal is becoming entirely sattvic, or 99 point infinite. So I just want to ensure that I've understood that right. And the other thing that's coming to me as we're sharing these
1 minute. If I could just consolidate that understanding, which I would have commented, but since you bring it up, therefore, in fact, what you have said is apt. But to sum it up, the spiritual sadhana, please jot it down, the spiritual sadhana with reference to the gunas. What should one do with reference to the gunas, the spiritual sadhana? Is threefold. You got to promote sattva. The spiritual sadhana with reference to these gunas is, Vijay, just type this for everybody's in caps, just in the chat box. Promote sattva. You got to sustain rajas. You got to stifle tamas. This is a threefold, not just promoting sattva. You got to promote sattva. You got to sustain your rajas, which is your action. You got to stifle your tamas. So when you do all of these three, the end result is you will be established in sattva. Could you repeat that three I said, Sanjay?
promote sattva, sustain rajas, and stifle tamas.
Correct. Wherever, to whatever extent you can stifle your tamas, stifle it. And the best way to stifle tamas is by getting to bed early. Because all tamas, tamoguna, tamas manifests after sundown to 4 a.m. See, the gunas have a certain time of manifestation. If you have not heard it, it would be a revelation to you. I start with sattva. Sattva manifests from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. Only 2 hours. 2 hours in a day, sattva manifests. 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. is rajas. And 6 p.m. to 4 a.m. is tamas. I repeat, 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. is sattva. 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. is rajasic time, means everybody is active. However sattvic or tamasic you are, sometime during the course of 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. you will wake up and you will start acting, some action, And from 6 p.m. to 4 a.m., everybody will get into some kind of indulgence to the extent he's tamasic. A person who's extremely tamasic becomes very active during tamasic time. A predominantly tamasic person is very active during tamasic time. He's inactive during the sattvic time. He's always asleep in the sattvic time. So what do? Promote sattva. That means you got to, like it or not, get up at 4 a.m. Sustain rajas. Be as active 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Do your dharma, do your duties with higher values. Don't be crooked, don't be corrupted, don't be greedy. Let the sattva influence your action and stifle your tamas. And how the best way to stifle tamas is not being awake during the tamasic hour. So get to bed early, get to rise early, As early as 4, if you rise, you will enhance sattva. Getting to bed early, you will ensure you are not available for any indulgences. I'm not available. Absolutely. You tell yourself that I'm not available, so the world will not disturb you. Nobody bothers you because you know you're switched off. So shut off yourself, cut off yourself from the world. Because you have an appointment at 4 a.m. I am not available for anything because I want to promote sattva. So this is, you got to bring about a paradigm shift in your thought so that your priorities change. And then you will see beautifully how your personality starts blossoming. The sattva in you starts enhancing, increasing, and the others proportionately starts declining. In due course, you will see a clear change in your personality. So you will become more contemplative, more reflective, you become more introverted. So that was I wanted to consolidate that understanding because of the point you made, which I did not mention in the explanation I would have. So that should clarify that. So yes, you had something further, please.
And then the second thing, so that's connected, so many things. So that's why the advice is raised at Brahma Muhurta and do your yoga at that time. And even I'm feeling that puja and arati timings are all related to these. They force us into that space. They force us to adhere to these timings. So it's a complete system. And then the other thing is when we're talking about looking for the role models, it also feels like we're also taught as in the Hindu ecosystem to only see the positive, the sattvic in others. So everyone potentially is a role model if we look for their sattvic in others and not at their negatives and not at their rajasic or tamasic tendencies. But everyone, by definition of our conversation, has sattvic within them. So we focus on that because that also in a way is a step one, in the same way that we're looking for the step two, the sattvic in ourselves. We practice that by looking for the sattvic in others, however small or large we may perceive that to be. But everyone has it by definition. Everyone has that within them. So by practicing that cognition of only seeking the sattvic in others will help us surely to see the transparency, the sattvic within ourselves. It feels.
Yes, that in fact is known as satsang.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's the technical definition of satsang you gave. All right. Wonderful. Wonderful, Sanjay. All right. Okay. Gopal Krishnanji.
Namaskar, Guruji.
Namaskar, sir. Yes.
Just a continuation. I think you mostly answered my question, but still I repeat. See, a situation where we already discussed, where you get into a conflict in, let us say, an office situation, someone shouting at you and you shouting at him, and you get upset, he gets upset, and you get upset. And that is one part. You know, what you are saying is you should get detached at that time. And you also answered saying that it is a lifelong sadhana to get the full detachment. It's like any other detachment for the rest of the world. At that moment also you get a detachment if you do the sadhana continuously. But the second part is that the disturbed condition of that incident carries on for hours together, days together, sometimes weeks together. So the whole process of one incident carrying on for days and weeks together, where are we going wrong? I mean, in the sense that rajas is predominant or tamas is predominant, or what? Where is it going wrong? Not only the incident part, latter part.
Right. So how would a tamasic person, how would a rajasic person and sattvic person interact or deal with an incident? Taking an instance of a hot exchange of words and tempers have risen and emotions were exchanged. How would a tamasic person deal with it? Tamasic fellow is totally indifferent. He's not bothered of anything. You know, complete recklessness, a reckless attitude he would have to it. And he would continue to behave in such manner because he has not learned a lesson from that act. So the tamasic person is ignorance personified. It's completely shrouded in his own childish attitude, and he continues to repeat that same or similar mistakes. So there's no learning, there's no awakening, there's no wisdom in a tamasic person. A rajasic person, to a large extent, he would relive that mental experience. So there is a freshness to that memory. He keeps unnecessarily brooding over the past dead, and it disturbs him in his present conduct. That's the reason we say a rajasic person is agitated all the time. His actions have not changed, but his actions are agitated. A tamasic fellow, nothing has changed. He carries on same repeated thing. Every time you come through a particular, let's say you take a route to come to your home and there's a pothole. Every time you come, you go to the pothole. You don't realize, man, there is a pothole and I can avoid it. No, every time he goes to the pothole, he doesn't realize it. Rajasic fellow, he keeps fiddling with the injury. He doesn't allow the injury to heal. Every time he keeps scratching it. So what? The injury will never heal. So a tendency of rajas is worries and anxieties. A sattvic person, he understands the past has a relevance to his actions in the present. He relates to the past to the extent it helps him to mold and give a direction to his present action. Having learned whatever lessons to be learned, he understands the past is dead, his fate accomplished, and he can't do anything about it. There's no point brooding. So he takes corrective measures, brings in correct assessments, and doesn't repeat the same course of action which he has taken earlier. So there's a transformation because there's a learning. So same incident, a tamasic person is reckless, he repeats it in a same way or a similar mistakes he commits. A rajasic person, he allows the past to come and disturb his present. A sattvic person has learned his lessons from the past. He doesn't brood, but he lives in the present. So best of them become emotional at times. So I don't have to hate you for that. You are an asset to an organization. You are an integral part of the organization. I don't have to hate you for that. Why should I be heavy-hearted just because you said something? You see, you go beyond that egoistic play, and then you think the larger interest of the organization. That is sattva. You bring in your sattva, you forgive that person, you're very charitable in your thought, you're very accommodative, you move on. Even though the incident has come and gone, you're still living in the past. That is not acceptable. So that hurts you more than the actual experience, isn't it, sir?
Yes.
So this is where the being in this knowledge, it helps you to move into the sattvic zone, because the sattva, as we said, is constantly being promoted. You're trying to enhance sattva.
Yeah, one more point.
Yes, sir, please.
You said sattvic can best practice in the first 2 hours, Brahma Muhurtam or Amrita Vela. I think it is too short a time, almost 16 hours or 17 hours of our wakeful time. 2 hours is too short a time. So during what we normally say, Patanam, Savanam, Mananam, etc. So there is a possibility that during that rajasic time, during the daytime, that you continue to practice it and keep on working on it and still promote sattvic quality. We don't know how long it will take. As you said, maybe lifetime exercise. And most of us have very little lifetime left. So we have to work hard, day and night. So fine. Thank you very much for your answers.
Right. No, It is quality over quantity. 2 hours is more than sufficient to bring about that transformation. But interestingly so, you must understand that transformation happens only between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. Your 20% will become 21 only between 4 and 6. If you don't do 4 to 6, the 20 will not become 21. That I assure you. So to a large extent, it is how active you are during that early hour directly reflects in your spiritual transformation. And the rest of the day, obviously, you can't, okay, thank you, I've done my 4 to 6, therefore I will also do 6 to 4. As somebody said, I am available to all the parties that's happening, one after the other, I'll go, because I've done my 4 to 6, therefore I'll do 6 to 4 also. No, you will have to do all 3 together. Got to stifle. So if I have to get up at 4 o'clock, what time you need to sleep? Venkatramji? So I'm going to test you, huh?
6 hours before.
Which is
Try to get up at 4 o'clock, say 10 o'clock in the night.
Just little late, I would say. Switch off your phone by 9 o'clock and then you will linger till 9:30, 10 o'clock. Okay. If you want to get up at 4. But if you are not that serious, then there's no problem.
I get up at 5 anyways. I start getting up at 4.
No, slowly. If you could, to begin with, if you even get up at 5 and that 1 hour of solid study, give yourself solid reflection and study of these scriptures and ideas, get to the core questioning and trying to understand this, it'll help. Not easy to bring about a shift in the whole lifestyle. But once you do that, it's a totally different world altogether. So I hope little delusion is gone, because the amount of discussion we had should help us understand. See, they're not giving us the path. We're just trying to create a pathway to the goal, what the verse is conveying. So once you have transcended the gunas, then you reach that state of self-realization, which is what the verse is saying. Okay, I'm above them. All right. Okay, we'll come back. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.